In five, in five, four, three, two, one. Get live.
Hi, welcome to our Facebook Live for May of 2021. It just continues to be an exciting opportunity to come before our whole staff team and those, other people who get on Facebook on our launch Facebook page and have the opportunity to hear myself and whoever my guest is for the month share a little bit about our experiences at launch. And so today, as you can see, I have Evan Tablatin. Sorry, Evan.
That's
I can't
okay.
believe I messed up your last name. But we're live. All right, this happens live. But I have Evan joining today he's one of our site program managers, and he's going to share a little bit about his experiences at launch. But before Evan starts speaking, I want just to acknowledge a few things this month. One being that this is a month where Asian American Pacific Islander heritage is acknowledged this month. And as we know, there's been a lot going on in local community and across our nation that hasn't been the best experiences for our Asian American Pacific Islander family. Yet also something that I've noticed myself is that there's been a lot more positive exposure as well. I mean, there's, we're a lot more stories of great accomplishments and a lot more historical sharing and film that's being made or identified or music and just so forth. And so I know for myself, I have found from a cultural perspective that, sometimes we have to take what was hard and hurtful and flip it around and turn it into something that is great and useful and better for society. And I've really been seeing that happen in the Asian American Pacific Islander community, and it's awesome. But also, still, we all have a responsibility to stay in solidarity with our family who is struggling and hurting through just some hatred that exists in our world and disparities that continue to exist as well. I also want to acknowledge that this month we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Month a few weeks ago. And during that time, there is some legislation called the Fair Start for Kids Act that has gone into statute in the state of Washington. And that act is acknowledging the childcare sector as critical to the education of our children and providing resources and increasing the expectations of how childcare services are implemented in our state. And our Governor Inslee, on June 7th, actually declared that day Child Care Appreciation Day. And again, great acknowledgement for our sector and for the work that we are all doing to support our children, our youngest children to our oldest children. So thank you for that service. And then lastly, I wanted to also just acknowledge that for launch, that we're in our final quarter of the year, and there's going to be a lot of really great things that are coming out in this final quarter. We have new benefits that are being offered as our new HR director has come on board. We're going to have a strategic plan, a refined strategic plan that we'll be sharing here soon. We are also going to have just some new resources, a new budget, going into a new budget year. And then the summer, we're really, really excited about the summer opportunities, which I'll share more about in June. And so now I want to give the Facebook Live floor to Evan and allow Evan to share a little bit about himself and his role at launch and just excited to have you here, Evan. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yes, it's been a fun experience to do this each month. And so I can start with a question. And so my first question is my understanding is that you identify as Asian American,
Mhm.
and I'm just curious. Are you having the experience of being able to bring your whole self, bring your culture to launch as a leader at launch?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest. I mean, Launch is probably the first company where I've felt comfortable being my complete self. In the past, you know, I've been with a lot of organizations where I've been kind of the only one. You know, I've been the only guy or like the only person of color. The only Asian or whatever. And I come to Launch and it's a completely different experience because Launch is all about inclusiveness and diversity. And here, like, it's not just me here. There's a lot of number of others, that are like me, within Launch, both students and staff, and so it makes me feel comfortable, just being who I am here. Um, so much about what I thought education was when I was younger is, completely different now. Um, and so um, I'm really able to, bring who I am to, the forefront here, both at my site, with my staff, my students, and really just, being who I am.
Okay. And so, tell me about your, not necessarily from a cultural perspective, but
Yeah.
tell me about your experiences with the children in your center and just, how things are going in your center.
As in general, or
It just in general, any way you want to explain, like how are things with your kids and how are you working with them and
no, the
what fun activities are they doing?
kids are great. Preschool is been my passion. Early childhood has been my
Yeah.
passion for about 10 years. Before here, I was working with primarily infants and toddlers. That's where my background is. So it's nice to come back to the preschool age where lots of in-depth conversations are happening. There's a lot of literacy growth that's happening at this age, but the kids are definitely at this point, where a lot of them are going into kindergarten. So a lot of them are really taking hold of those skills of their own learning, where they're not only learning about a lot of developmental things, how to read, their letters, numbers, simple mathematic concepts, but they're learning a lot about their social emotional development. And a lot of what we focus on here, especially at my site, is kids just how to interact appropriately with each other, how to manage their own emotions and things like that. A lot of what we're doing with the kids right now is really positive interactions, how to uplift each other and embrace our differences and things like that.
Mhm.
um, we've got some pretty strong-headed kids here, and a lot of them are have this competitive edge, which I can understand. I'm a competitor as well. So it's taking a lot of that and channeling it to, instead of I'm better than you, how can I make you better because you're my friend too.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of uplifting, a lot of empathy that we really try to teach a lot of the kids here, just so before they head off to kindergarten, they're more well-rounded, as as much as they possibly can.
Yeah. And your site, you had a site change, and so
Mhm.
what was that like for even like the activities? Are you able to do more activities, or the kids? Are you able to engage the kids and families in your new location
Yeah,
more?
so I actually wasn't here for the move. I came on in September, after like a couple weeks after we moved, actually. So
Okay.
I actually haven't seen the R6E branch personally yet, which is where we're going to be moving back to. So really, what I know about the site is really here at John Muir. So
Okay.
we've been able to, even with COVID, been able to find ways to kind of interact with some of our families. Um,
Yeah.
we do have the capabilities of being able to talk to families every day, in person. Our gate outside limits families from coming onto the like onto the school, but we're
Mhm.
able to meet them at the gate and still have those conversations about their children. about what we're doing. Any emails that I might send out, we'll also reiterate those messages to parents in person so that, we're making sure we're touching all our bases and finding, the best ways to contact our families. Last month, we did do a virtual family night with our families. And so we had done an activity with our kids here on site where we picked up natural materials and, we all created our own, images and pictures using those natural materials. And so we sent a bunch of individual bags home of those materials home to parents. We met them on Zoom later that night and we all did that activity together. And it was all about, bringing the community, the classroom community together in like one space. And for the first 10 minutes of it, I mean, the kids were just excited to see each other online, even though they didn't see each other, all day. But the parents, it was a chance for them to, see some of the things that we were doing, and then for us to kind of bridge the gap to on some of the things that we were, teaching with the kids. So the other thing we were focusing on was expanding on conversations and, how do we go from, like, oh, that picture is really cool, I like it, to, tell me more about that, and having kids talk about it from their perspectives, so that it was more of a process over product type of thing. And so we were able to kind of teach some of our parents how to engage in conversations more with their kids. That way that there was more of that bridge between home and school, and so that you can build some of that consistency and really get that follow through with them.
Yeah. Wow, that's exciting. That being able to improvise and adapt is amazing for
Mhm.
kids. And so not only have they adapted being in a different location and having to adapt to being remote, but then even that family engagement, you've been able to identify ways to make sure that families are being able to engage beyond being outside the gate, right? Like that's and make those connections. That's really neat. I like that. And so, as you mentioned, you've been with Launch since September, and coming in the middle of a pandemic, coming in with some transitions happening at your site. Where are you most proud of?
Definitely like the relationships that I've made here. Coming on board, as the new leader, with the staff that was here before me, what I wanted to do was to kind of, you know, create a culture that was mine, and so I'm very relationship based, and it's important that I, see my staff as people than just workers. I've been in pretty much every position in the early childhood field. So, I started off as an assistant, worked my way through teacher, lead teacher, mentor teacher, assistant director was my previous role. And, now I'm here. And so I know what it was like to have, poor leadership ahead of me. So when I came on board, one of the things I wanted to do was to let my staff know that I've been in your position. I know what it's like to not have someone, lead you well. So I wanted to become, a great leader for them. So um, my whole thing about, the culture that I create here at my site is um, I don't expect my staff to do things that I wouldn't expect myself to do.
Mm,
So
mm,
whatever they're doing, I will do as well, or whatever I'm doing, my expectations that's how they do that too. So when I came on, the thing that I wanted to do was really create and focus on the relationships I was making with my staff and let them know that, whatever it is that you need, let me know so I can help support you. Um, and I'm very proud of the fact that I have a very small staff. There's only 4 of us here, but we are kind of this little work family. So it's our crew. Shout out to my John Muir team. We've been kind of, we see each other a day, and we work together. And I feel like the team that we've created here together is fantastic, and it shows through the work that they do, and the relationships, interactions that they have with our students. So very very proud of the fact that after my first year, that we've been able to create this culture here at John Muir.
wow, wow. Well, that's exciting. Well, it sounds to me like you have some pretty solid leadership skills that you've developed over time, over your career, and we are honored to have you here at Launch, leading in your role, and there's so much more potential that I see for you as part of our Launch family, and so I really appreciate it. And then also. I like the idea of, how you're talking about relationship building, which, as a core value and part of our culture, right? In our organization, and you're putting that into practice and demonstrating that for your staff. So thank you for that leadership, Evan Tablatin. I
Thank you.
got it right. I'm determined to get your name right. Because I appreciate you and look forward to you continuing to lead here at Launch. And thank you for joining me for our Facebook Live. Your first, my, I think, fifth. Still, I mess up each time. I'm nervous each time, but it's still at the end. It's fun, and hopefully, it's getting more of our staff engaged and
Yeah.
knowing about what's happening in our organization.
No,
So,
absolutely. This has been great. This is fun.
yeah. Well, thank you for being a part of it.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, we are signing off. So um, be on the lookout. You might be next. Reach out to me if those of you out there want to join and be on the Facebook Live. I would love to have more of our staff as guests and joining and sharing. Okay, I'm going to end.
Thank you.